कोई मेरे दिल से पूछे तेरे तीर नीमकश को ये खलिश कहाँ से होती है जिगर के पार होता। ये कहाँ की दोस्ती है कि बने हैं दोस्त नासे। ये कहाँ की दोस्ती है कि बने हैं दोस्त नासे। कोई चारा साज होता कोई गम गुसार होता। रंग संग से टपकता वो लहू कि फिर न थमता जिसे गम समझ रहे हैं अगर शरार होता। That is a beautiful couplet from my favorite Galib Saab. So, welcome and greetings from Sheetal of Conversations. You're witnessing our 92nd historic illustrious show. Uh, we normally meet at the Sunday twilight, and twilight, dusk has a very auspicious and serene and sacred connotations in almost all the traditions of the world. Because the night and day they rise together to reach to the summit and shake hand together. So there is a 9 second there. If some of us are lucky, they go to that 9 second. They can just peep into that 9 second and just move around and see the expanse of eternity for a while. Having said that, I'd like to say today once again we are into the virtual congregation, all of us, and certainly we are here to plunge back and swim across this ocean of treasure trove, which takes us to the back lanes of centuries and millennia. And I hope you are doing all well this Sunday. And we are here. We are having monsoon. Monsoons are beautiful ones. I remember we have been intermittently. Living in different places. Sometimes in Srinagar, sometimes in the hotter areas. And I have this great memory and nostalgia whenever monsoons come in India. It is a very romanticizing nostalgia. There was a film. There's a film you must be knowing that Junoon, Shashi Kapoor's production. Shashi Kapoor, Jennifer Kapoor, Nafisa Ali, Nasiruddin Shah, they were all there. It was a great movie, and music was given by Vanraj Bhatia, and it was beautiful. And Yogesh was its lyricist. So there is a beautiful line over there. Uh, खिल गई हथेली पे मेहंदी के बूटे, खिल गए हथेली पे मेहंदी के बूटे, लचकते झूलन की डाल रे, दानी चुनर मोरे सर ना ठहरे, दानी चुनर मोरे सर न ठहरे, चूड़ियों की झनकार रे, गिर आई कारी गटा मतवाली, सावन की आई बहार रे. So that's a beautiful song. It was filmed probably on Sushma Stage and Dipati Naval. That was a great movie. It also reminds me of my childhood. Whenever I said I used to live in the hotter areas as well, besides in Kashmir. So our mother used to give us old clothes, and then we used to go into the first shower of the rain, and it was so romanticizing. We would dance in the rain, get mad in the rain, and then finally somebody had to come down from the home, maybe father or somebody, tell us that this enough time is gone now. Now you'll have a bad cold and other things. So that's all about it. Uh, I think I mean, once again very grateful to all the admirers and the personalities, the diaspora who love and admire and follow this program very regularly. And certainly, I think you are all the indelible, dependable strength of this whole concept of Shitala conversations. Thank you very much for really, being part of this. All over two and a half years have passed by, and we are definitely doing a great work here. We have the great conversationalists who come up to our studios, and we conversate about the great times, and they are the people, the men of great virtues. They have the capabilities, they have public stature, they have great insights, they have great integrity. Their memory is still intact, and they take us back to this nostalgic lane of the past, and through the time spaces which are located in different parts of millennia and centuries gone by. So that's how it is, and we have wonderful people who came till now, and it has become a very we have all these things are recorded into our archival library. They are there for the not only for the diaspora. It has a purpose beyond entertainment. They're only kind of a research papers, visual research papers, which take us to the nostalgia, which take us to the civilization, 5,000 years old civilization to which we all are part. So that is how it is, and identity is something which is connected in the globe. In this entire globe, we have seen this right from the beginning of evolution, when the humankind got its consciousness. He started moving all around the globe, and there's a story. There is one legend that 1,000 people came from Africa, and they came down to India because some climatical reasons, and then some upheaval happened, and they then scattered into the Dubai, into the Gulf and other areas, and England and America. And then they came back again during the Indus Valley civilization. So, nature is something which hides after 1,000, 2,000 years, it hides the memory. And then we have again to bring those archaeologists to reinvent and revisit these sites to understand how people have moved. Not very recently, I probably think, well, let's talk about the contemporary times when America rose to its eminence, and there were, and it had its economical strength, and it had become very, very robust economy of the world. And but there was some kind of imbroglio upon the Asians. They had to then they banished something. They amended some law in which was only for the nationalistic origin kind of people. Only British Britons could go there, and later on, after this abolishment, a lot many people from India started going. If we look back at earliest of the in the mid of 20th century, we see that earliest Indians which went to United States of America were the people who were working with the sailors, and they didn't have the skills, and they went there and for a better avenues and better prospects. And not a century passed by, another set of people. They were the philosophers, they were the missionaries, and they were the travelers and the merchants who stepped onto the great land of America, and then they gave something to that land, received something from that land, and they became integral part of that culture. Yet they didn't forget their roots, and then the generations and generations lived there. That's how the story goes. And we Indians, wherever we go, we work very hard, and we are talented. And if we come to the bygone century, we see that till 1970, probably mid 1960s or 70s, when the laws were a bit liberal because of that Vietnam crisis war with America. And it is said that because of that, American, they wanted, there was a resource crunch of human resources probably, and Americans, then they set in the people from Asia and other countries, they started moving in, and it was a great deal of affairs there. And people, it was a great privilege in those days to go to probably in mid 1960s 70s. It was something kind of a very, very great privilege to go to America, and America was a state of dream, and a place of dream, place of aspirations. And that's how this is. I was always interested to start a topic about this. How not because after 1990s it was all, we were all dispersed. There was a kind of a dichotomy. There was a disturbance all over, and we didn't go there as a natural choice. We went there for aspiration because we're searching something in the dark. And many people nowadays go to America, but it is very nostalgic and romanticizing to think about America in 60s 70s. People, Kashmiri natives, went there, and we are very fortunate to know that Kashmiris, like all other Indian ethnicities, are doing very well there. They are the elite, because they represent almost all the sections of the public life, from administration to politics, to corporate sector, to literature, and all kind of things, like all of the Indians do. So that makes us very proud. And yes, there must be a struggle behind it which we don't see. So today we are going to talk about it, and I had brought a guest, President Kashmiri Overseas Association, Archana Kokruji. and probably she had gone there in 1990s, and she tried her level best to relocate. But then again, I was in search of some great personalities of 1960 who went there in 1960s and 70s. And today we have such a great personality with us, and I have invited him in my show. And his name is Dr. Hira Fotedar. You must be all known, I mean, already acclimatized with his name. You must be already acquainted with his name. And he's a personality, a great public figure, who had remained in, who had been into the academia excellence, done excellence, his record of excellence in academia. And he's a, a personality who's a leader, a corporate leader, who became a very big corporate leader also, and is a business icon, author, an author, and then again he's a philanthropist, a very phenomenal social activist. I mean, all these things and many many things about him is that he just this whole resonance of his saga can be looked back from the times before and after he went to America, and it can be located that at that type of time this was a land of aspirations. How he went there, what were the stories and anecdotes? Because our program is that of anecdotes mostly, and there are many many things. His biodata is very wide. I have appended it with my promo, and you can all visit. It is impossible, literally impossible, to spell everything here. But then again, I will. I mean, in a broader way, I would say that he's a personality who has been who is the president of this Fotedar Associates management firm based in Cleveland, Ohio, and that does a management that does a management consultancy. It's a consultancy firm, and he has been working in I've forgotten the name, in one of the greatest companies in United States, Eaton Corporation, and there his name is taken with great respect because of his work in that particular arena, in that particular company, where he has created revolutionary innovations and creativities there. And besides that, he has also been working. He has done his doctorate. He is an alumni of IIT BHU, and he had studied metallurgical engineering from there, and then he did post graduation and the PhD from Washington University, Seattle, WA. And this is a very very prestigious university, and he was in the postdoctoral. He did his postdoctoral studies from University of London, England, and then he was also teaching as a faculty, as an associate professor in a university, one of the famous universities in Brazil. And there are many many stories about him. And coming to his social side, I mean, he has done an immense contribution to the society and the social cause. He's a wonderful social worker and a great philanthropist, especially during the times of Exodus, when that horrendous night happened. After that, people were left to the roads and nobody was listening to us. And there is this gentleman who's well off, affluent, United States of America. His conscience was very clear, and he got up along with his family, his wife, and he planned something great. And all facets of this initial struggle, helping them out, giving them financial help, and all kinds of things have been done by Dr. Hira Fotedarji. It is impossible to explain everything whatever he has done. He has been instrumental to bring this pathos, this tragedy, this horrendous tragedy to the canvas of the world, because world didn't listen. World doesn't listen. Even powers of corridors are so thick-minded, thick-skinned rather. So it is he, people like he, Panta Saab, and many many other people, thousands of them, who work together. It is their great effort that finally it came into the focus of the focus of the world community, America, India, corridors of power. So he has a very very pivotal role to play. He is also a member of many many. He has said probably that Indo American Kashmiri Association, which was probably the cause, which was purpose of that was to create and help these people up. Besides, he is also world for the world communities, the Bhutanese refugees. His Seva International has helped around 3,000 Bhutanese refugees to settle into in America, in the north, I mean, somewhere in the northwest, this place I've forgotten. So he's endeavor. He's always trying to give to the society whatever he has got back. That is the Oriental concept. That is the bhav of Sanskrit. And great shloks tell us about that. Lord Krishna has told us about Gita in Gita about this. Nothing belongs to us; it belongs to others. So I don't want to waste too much of time, but yes, I would like to say he has been awarded, rewarded. He has a very great research based revolutionary papers and presentations and publications to his credit, and he has been awarded, rewarded, honored for that across the globe. He's got many prestigious honors about that, and he is the person who was responsible in Ohio to create that in that university to create those laboratories for nuclear and automation this development. So that is something wherever he went, there is some Sigma story as well. So wherever he went, he's probably done great things like all great Kashmiris do. But we are very proud of the gentleman. So let's welcome him into the studio and with great warmth, great affection to the and I think all of you have joined by now, must be joining by now. Dr. Fotedar, you are welcome into 90-second Shitalath Conversations historic show. It's a great pleasure and honor to have you on my show. Thanks a lot.
Namaskar, Mara, namaskar. Thank you very much for inviting me to your show. I'm obviously very humbled with all the praises that you have given about. I don't know whether I deserve all that thing, but in any case, thank you very much. As I said, I'm very honored to be on your show. I want to say that you're doing a great job in bringing in people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, and sharing their memories, their experiences, and their expertise, in many cases. I have watched several of these shows. One of the ones that I really liked was with Dr. Kak and with Dr. Pandita. Both of them are my very good close friends, and I learned a lot of stuff that I did not know before. So thank you for bringing that thing in and sharing that with the broader community of not only Kashmiri Pandits, but all those people who are watching it. So again, my thanks to you and my congratulations to you for doing this. And I really believe, and have believed for a long time, that it's very important to capture and preserve some of the memories for the future generations. We're not very good at it. I think the Kashmiri Pandits don't like to talk too much about it. We have not captured the things that they suffered in 1990 or before, or 47 or in 31, and therefore we don't know what happened. So thank you so much for doing this thing, and I really appreciate it. I'm very delighted to be on your show.
Thanks a lot, sir. Again, a great honor, great privilege to have a guest like you with us. And certainly, this is going to be a very enriching and enchanting conversation. And people certainly must be clinging to this program right now, live, to listen to you. And before we begin, I like to say that our compulsory, like there's a compulsory question in the news, the question paper. We have a compulsory segment about nostalgia of Kashmir. We take our guests to the Kashmir, the days spent in Kashmir, and revive and retell those times spent in Kashmir. Its nostalgia, the lanes, the back lanes, the houses, the bonhomie around the family, the institutions, the inspirations, the trekking traditions, festivals, and all other aspects and wonderful aspects which are down the memory lane of all of us and people like you who have went to US as early as 1960s. Before we come to that topic, but first of all, let's go to the prime segment. I know that you must have lot much bounties hidden in your that pocket. Just display and tell us about it. Thank you.
Sure.
Please
I'll be
listen.
delighted
Please
to.
listen. Yeah.
The Kashmir reminiscence is very dear to my heart. I've been to Kashmir Since 1990. I've gone there 4 times. I was there in 2005, 2009, 12, and 16. I just can't get it out of my system. So I'm very glad to talk about Kashmir. Uh, I was born, let me give you some background about my family and the location where I come from to give you a perspective of where I come from. Uh, I was born and brought up in Bodh Ali Kadal, and Bulbul Lankar area. There are many Fotedar families that live there, and I am told that we are related to each other somehow
Okay.
because my great great grandfather, Ishur Fotedar, uh, we are told that his house got burned down in Ranavari, and so he moved his family in 1700s to the Bodh Ali Kadal area. He bought land there, and so the Potterar family settled there, and over time, many of the cousins and others, they went around and bought their own homes, and we used to have the same Guruji Shumboy, Shambhunath
Shambhu.
Kak. He was our Guruji who used to go from one house to another as very customary in Kashmiri Pandits families. So we're obviously related to each other. Our side of Fotedars lived in a multi-generational middle class joint family
Oh,
that included 3 brothers. My mom came from Vicharnag, from Dharkland. She had 4 brothers and 2 sisters. So I grew up with many cousins, aunts, and uncles. It was a lot of fun. And just for information and the information for the audience, Professor Trilokinath Dhar, my Mamaji, who is, by the way, 102 years old,
right.
he was head of the Department of Botany in the government SP College as well as the Women's College for a long time. Is my Mamaji and is the brother of my mom and comes from Vicharnag. The head of our clan was my oldest uncle, Pandit Dinanath Fotedar, and he was very influential and instrumental in shaping my life. He was a multifaceted man. He received his BA from Punjab University in Lahore in 1910, and just before he started studying for undergraduate degree, he lost his father, so he did everything on his own for
Okay.
much of his life. So he started out as a teacher and became headmaster of the government school in Baghe Dilavari Khan, Fateh Kadal. And then he rose to become the headmaster there and eventually the inspector of schools under Maharaja's government. Just for information that Sheikh Abdullah and others who were later on in the government in Kashmir were his students, and he was popularly known as Master Ji.
Master Ji.
One thing happened in his life, which is very powerful thing to see, that when he was in his mid 40s and he was the inspector of schools, at that time, the education minister was Khwaja Saidan, who did not like Kashmiri Pandits, frankly,
Yes.
and he
Is
had
it
a
so?
falling out with him. So what happened is that in the middle of his career life, he left the Kashmir government service and he joined Lucknow University to study law. And, um, and then he came back. He had a very thriving law practice and got involved in serving the Kashmiri Pandit community. Um, he founded Samaj Sudhar Samiti with Pandit Gopi Krishnji and Sudarshan Koul Dharmarthi. Uh, and Dharmarthi family used to take care of the temples and institutions in Kashmir. And I remember reading Jyoti, which was the official magazine published by Samaj Sudhar Samiti. Uh, and Samaj Sudhar Samiti was very instrumental in, in fighting against dowry system. And they promoted girls' education and widow remarriage. And I honestly, I mean, I learned a lot from him that you have to be resilient. If, if you have setbacks in your life, you have to be resilient. You have to be flexible. You have to imagine the possibilities, take risks, and then give back to the society. We are part of that society. We give back and serve the society. So that has been very instrumental in my education, and I really thank him. My father was Pandit Kashinath Fotedar. He was the youngest of the three brothers, and he joined British Army in his teens, and he fought in World War II, and he was posted in Iraq and Libya, and then after independence, he was involved with the wars with Pakistan and China. Unfortunately, he was mostly absent from my life because he was out on the military duty. My immediate family consisted of my brother and my sister, but my father really took good care of us. He used to send money to my mom, so we didn't lack anything. At the time of the partition, just before 47, my father was posted in Quetta in Balochistan, and I was told by many people that he helped many Hindus, Kashmiri Pandits and others to transport them from Quetta to Srinagar in army camps and saved many lives. In Budgir, we used to have a lot of Kashmiri Pandit families. Actually, the Bulbul Lankar area had 60,000 Kashmiri Pandits prior to
Bulbul
the
Lankar, yeah.
ex.
Bulbul Lankar is
Yeah,
visible from the boulevard also, na? Bulbul Lankar.
yeah, Bulbul Lankar, yes. And so we had 60,000 Hindus lived in that area from Ali Kadal, Bodhgher to Bulbul Lankar, all the way to Noah Kadal area. And we were very close. We would get together in temples. Bhattiyar temple used to have many festivals. But in our family and as other families, we used to celebrate Shivratri on a regular basis. We used to go to Khir Bhavani temple on a dunga, which is like a,
Dunga Cruise. Dunga
as you
Cruise.
know, on a ship, mini ship. And we would go to Zeshta Devi temple near the Dal Lake. And personally, one of the fondest memories I have, Jugalji, is that I used to accompany my aunt to go to Hari Parbat. So we would go around the Hari Parbat area, and in the morning she would go and she would take me with her. And then in the evening, we used to go to the Bhattiyar temple. And as kids in the neighborhood, we would go to Bhattiyar in the Jhelum area and swim in that area. So it was a lot of fun, Also, in our neighborhood was Reshipir, a big, very famous temple of Reshipir. And we used to have very famous Kashmiri musician, Muhammad Abdullah Tibet Bakal, who used to live in Bodhgher area. And when I used to go from my house to Ali Kadal area, I would hear him singing and practicing, doing riyaz in his Sufiana music. And we used to love to hear him. Soon after my birth, my mom became very sick and she passed away, unfortunately, when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So I was sent out to Vicharnag to live with my grandmother, where my grandmother, we used to call her Kakni, and my aunt, Jai Jigri, who was not married at that time, and they looked after me and raised me there. And the life in Vicharnag in those days was very idyllic. It was fantastic. I mean, it's a small village, about 7-8 kilometers from the city, almost 10 kilometers from the city. And the village has a Shiva Mandir that we would call Vichar Sahib, and it has a spring there, and we would swim in the spring and take bath there. Both boys and girls would do that. Vicharnag is the place that our gurus and Brahmins in ancient times would get together and discuss and finalize the new panchang, the jantri that we receive every year. So they would come from different parts of the state, and they would get together there and get an agreement that, yeah, this is the final jantri, muhurats and all that thing. And that as part of the celebration every year, they used to have a big mela. It used to be held on Chaitra Amavasya in Sanskrit, but in Kashmiri we call it Chatamawas. So on the Chatamawas day, we used to have a big, I still remember, and we used to love to go there on that particular day. And Kashmiri Pandits from all over the valley would go there and participate in that festival. And typically what they would do is they would go take a bath, and then they would do puja at the Vichar Sahab, which the Shiva temple in the locality. According to Kalhana Raj Tarangni, Vicharnag is very famous for holding the fourth Buddhist council under the reign of Kanishka. That was in 78 CE Common Era. And also for information, Dr. Sri Bhatt, the very famous doctor, Ayurvedic doctor, lived there because he cured Zainul Abidin.
Zainul Abidin, yeah, at the time.
Yeah, and freed Kashmiri Pandits from the yoke of oppression at that time. But he came from Vicharnag. My grandfather, Pandit Raghunath Dhar, would take me because I was living there. So he would take me to the Shiva temple in the morning to take bath and do prayers. And I learned do pranayam from him because most of the older gentlemen would go there and they would sit down in front of the temple and they would do pranayam, yoga. And I had nothing to do, so I would sit down there and copy them. And didn't know what I was doing, but that practice has stayed with me, and I do pranayam yoga every day, and it has helped me a lot. So, again, from my grandfather, I learned the importance of puja, meditation, pranayam, and so I just wanted to share with you guys. In Vicharnag, we had many cows. My Matamal had many cows. So I used to take them for pasture and bring fresh grass for them from Achar Lake in Sora with my cousins and with my uncles. And we would pass by the ancestral home of Sheikh Abdullah in Sora because he's from Sora. And as kids, we would go and do mischief things, bad things sometimes. And typically I was part of a gang that would go and steal fruits from the local orchards until one day I got caught and got beaten up, and then I stopped doing that. In October 1947, as you all know, after the Kavali raid, the situation in Srinagar and Vicharnag everywhere was very precarious for everybody, and particularly for the Hindus more so. The Kavali raiders had reached Shiltang, hardly about 7 kilometers from our Fotedar house. And we were all scared, and I remember everybody, trying to get ready to leave Srinagar just in case they came and occupied the city. So after the Maharaja signed the instrument of accession on October 26, 1947, the Indian Air Force went in there and started bombing the raiders, and I can still hear the bombing noises in my ears. They ring still to this day, and we were very scared, obviously. Good thing was that my maternal uncle was Flight Lieutenant Jagannath Dhar. He was one of the first and earliest Kashmiri Pandits who was part of the British Air Force, British Indian Air Force. And so he ferried the Indian troops, the first Sikh infantry into Srinagar. And also he would ferry supplies from Delhi to Srinagar. And he also flew reconnaissance missions to locate these Qawwalis where they were located and dial their information back to the soldiers so that they could just annihilate them. In one of his missions, because when he was going back, there was nothing in the plane, so he asked my grandmother, his mother, to ask all the siblings to come up with at least one kid to take them back with him. So I remember going with my grandmother and along with my other cousins in that plane to Delhi with them, and we stayed there for a while until the things got calmed down and we came back to Srinagar. As you can see, there was a lot of things going on at that time in my life, and because of this turmoil, nobody was interested in telling me that I needed to study. So I actually didn't get started studying until the age of 7, I think 6, 7, something like that. And the first school I went to was Zabrizat in Bodhgher Ali Kadal. And it was a small room on the top of a compounder in Ali Kadal, doctor, his office upstairs, one room, and we would study there. But also one thing that used to happen at that time is that the Kashmiri Pandits would send their kids to the Gita school. So the Muslims had their madrasas, but the Hindus also had their Gita school. So I attended the Gita school for quite some time in Srinagar. So after that, I studied in government school in Rangteng in Bulbul Lankar, from where I did my matriculation in 1957. Of course, in between, I would visit my father in Kanpur and Delhi, and then come back
So
to
tell us,
Srinagar.
Dr. Fotedar, we want to know. We'll go on with this story, but we want to know some great, beautiful anecdotes about your school days in vicinity, in the family, and
Sure.
some wonderful anecdotes. You said that other day you were telling me that you played in a place like downtown, where Mirwais Farooq's father used to be your playmate, and you all three, four people, and many, many other beautiful anecdotes you wanted to
Yeah, I
tell.
was
Yeah,
I was just going to come to that. That was my
yeah.
second element.
Okay, okay, okay,
So,
okay.
well, as kids, we used to, as I said, we used to swim in the Jhelum. But as we got older, we used to play cricket and soccer among friends in the neighborhood, right? And in our angan and in the friends' homes. So we were we would play cricket in the home of Chowdhury's. You all know KL Chowdhury. They had a
KL
big
Chaudhary family.
house. Yeah, his
Yeah.
father was a big lawyer, very famous lawyer, and they were neighbors of Mirwais. So even today, there is a Mirwais Manzil in Rajouri Kadal, and they had a big yard, and so the Chowdhury brothers and me and others would get together, and frequently we would have Muhammad Farooq, who was the father of Umar Farooq, the Mirwais. Before he became Mirwais, he would join us in playing cricket, and and we had a lot of friends. I had a lot of friends who were Muslims. One of them was Amin Andrabi, and I used to go to his house in Rajuri Kadal, and I would have sheer chai and telur. His mom would make sheer chai and telur. And you know what that would happen is that when I would come back home, my people didn't like that. And that was our son, short through. So I wouldn't be allowed to go into kitchen because I had done that thing. And but we were also very close friends with our Muslim neighbors, Atikur Rahman Khosa. Even to this day, we're very good friends. Whenever I go to Kashmir, I visit him. So another thing we had to watch is that occasionally, whenever there were protests, the crowds, Muslim crowds, would go from our house and pile stones at our home. So we had to all hurry up and close our doors and windows, and we had to make sure that our women, girls, and the ladies were always accompanied by men when they went outside. So I used to do a lot of that thing, go be an accompaniment of my cousins and sisters and others when they were going out. So that was something we had good relations, but there were all kinds of other things going on which you and I and nobody could, you know, do anything about it.
Perceived at that point of time. Yeah.
Yeah. So after my high school, of course, I enrolled in Amer Singh College, where I was very active. in sports, National Cadet Corps. I became a senior under officer there, and I was very active in debating and other things. And we had, as I said, we had a very good relationship with my Muslim friends, but occasionally we would get into spats because of the difference of opinions about India, about politics and other things that's going on until now, right? And so in 1959, after my intermediate examination, I applied uh, for a government scholarship from Kashmir government, and I was called for an interview for that. And this is very important for me to share with everybody else. I'm sure other people know that because there was no engineering school in Kashmir in '59. So you had to go outside to, other places in India. Even India didn't have many schools. So, but the government of Kashmir had some seats reserved for them. And so I applied for it, and I was called for interview. And the person who interviewed me was Aga Ashraf Ali. And I vividly remember him telling me this, son, I am sorry to tell you that you're a Kashmiri Pandit boy. These scholarships are meant for Kashmiri Muslims only. You have excellent credentials. You should go to India. India is a big country. You'll have a nice future. You should go there and make life there. There is no future for you as a Kashmiri Pandit because Kashmir is for Muslim only. This was very prophetic advice, which I took to heart and I took it seriously. In a way, I thank him for being very blunt for what was to come later on. That was just the start of it, but at least I heard him, and I thank him for giving me advice, and I made my life outside Kashmir. For the sake of elaboration on this thing and for the information of the audience, I suggest that they should read an interview that Aga Ashraf gave in Kashmir Observer in August 2020 to David Lepak, openly describing how he willy-nilly got rid of Kashmiri Pandit teachers and officials from schools and colleges in Kashmir. In one incident, he said that there was a teachers' college and he was the principal of that. At one time, there were 19 teachers in that school. There were 8 out of 19. 18 were Kashmiri Pandits, 1 was Muslim. So when he became secretary in the government, he got rid of 8 Kashmiri Hindu teachers, and the rest is history. He does admit that the Kashmiri Pandits were better teachers and were emphasizing excellence in everything. But he did that. That was what he had to do. And many of my friends, Jugal, tell me the same story here in the United States. You go talk to Ashok Rana, you talk to Matus, and they could not get jobs. They couldn't get any opportunity in Kashmir, and they had to leave. And many of them have done very well in life, of course. They've reached the highest standards of excellence in the fields of
Education.
biotechnology. But that was what was going on. And actually, unfortunately, what impact this had was leadership. The best kids, the brains, were forced to leave Kashmir. There was no leadership in Kashmir. And in 1990, when that thing happened, everybody was running for themselves, and there was no leadership to guide and tell them we should do this, we should do this. So I wanted to share that because it's a true story. Now let me tell you what happened after that. So since I was denied the government scholarship, I had no choice. So I had to continue studying in Amrit College. So I did my BSc, and I focused on NCC. I was a senior under officer. I passed all the exams. And I said, what am I going to do? So I said, well, maybe if I finish my BSc, I'll get a commission in the Indian Army, or I go for master's degree or something like that. And so, I continued doing that. But at the same time, I was a little frustrated. And, in 1959, October, China attacked India in Ladakh. and they had killed about 15, 16 soldiers. And so as one of the ringleaders, I organized protest against that. And
Okay.
we joined with the students from SP College, Amar Singh College, and we called for strikes, and we got into scuffle with the police. And I tell you, the principal of Amar Singh College did not like that at all. So I was kind of a blacklisted on that thing. So what
So you are
impact this had
brilliant as
was,
well as demonstrative. As a student, you are brilliant as well as demonstrative, as well as, and antagonist. You had the
well,
antagonist
maybe I was
temperament.
a troublemaker.
Yeah.
And anyway, so to be honest, this was all fine, but I was really interested in engineering. I mean, engineering has been the love of my life. A lot of
Yeah.
people study engineering and then go to marketing. They do other things. I really wanted to build stuff. I wanted to make stuff. I love that. So I started applying for engineering schools. My uncles told me, don't lose heart. Just apply. Something will happen, and I did. And eventually, I got accepted at Banaras University. But however, they wanted a letter of recommendation from the principal of Amar Singh College. So I go to Mahmood Ahmed, who was the principal. I said, hey, I need a recommendation. He says, you're not going to get a very good recommendation letter from me. And he did not give me a good review. In his letter, he said all the things. He's a good student, blah, 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 blah. But at the end, he said, Hira Fotedar is an agitator and a troublemaker who can break any rule. So I take this letter home and show it to my uncle, Pandit Dinanath Fotedar, and he said, oh my God, with this letter, you're not going to get accepted anywhere. So
The principal is writing. He's an agitator.
yeah, so my uncle went to meet with Mahmood Ahmed, and it turned out that they were classmates at Lucknow University as law students, which I did
Okay.
not know. He says, oh, I know him, I'll go. And he talked to him, and he came back with a fantastic recommendation letter, as if I'm walking on water, I can fly, I can do all kinds of fantastic things. So in a way, that helped me to get into the BHU, and so
Uh,
that's the story of my Kashmir. I did
yes,
high
yes.
school, BSc.
I would like to, because you read it constantly, but I bit of I want to slightly go back to Kashmir, although we are already past our segment, because it is for 40 minutes and we are already 49 minutes ahead. But then again, I would like some beautiful anecdotes about you playing with this Mauli Farooq's father, and then certain situations, one two situations of you going to excursion, your school, some two three anecdotes I really want, which could
Yeah. I
definitely.
think as in Amar Singh College, we were very active. I mean, we would go mountaineering. I used to belong to a mountaineering school. Professor Bhan used to be the head of that, and we would there would be regatta in Dal Lake. Okay, so everybody knows
Yeah,
that. So we would
yeah,
participate in
that
that
is there.
thing. And the student life in Kashmir was fantastic. It was wonderful. There was no strife. In '60s, it was the golden period, in my opinion. Everybody helped each other. And we played cricket, we played soccer, we played hockey all together. And in my case, um, I enjoyed my days in Srinagar.
You
It
had the
was
restaurant
fantastic.
in those times. Did you have that common restaurant points, the meat points? Like later days, we had that Alka Salka, the bun, the Ritz, and many
I
many
I
places.
I think there were Jugal, but I was too poor to go to that.
Everybody
I
was
did,
poor in those days. My father
yeah. I
used
mean,
to
I
say.
did. I mean, barely. I mean, in my case, also, what happened is that because my dad was away, all that thing. So sometimes I was short of money, and
Okay.
I would rent books from a bookseller in Habakadal, and it was a
Ali
Kashmiri
Muhammad,
Pandit
Ali Muhammad and
owned.
Sons, Kapoor son, Ali Muhammad and
No,
Sons,
no, this is a small
Kapoor.
bookshop owned by
Okay,
Kashmiri Pandit, and
okay.
he loaned you the book, you gave him money, and then after you finish your studies,
You
then you
return back.
return. Yeah, I returned back. Yeah, So I have no books from Kashmir ever. So you studied and you gave it back to him. You know. So apparently, for many people who are not that rich and books are very expensive, it worked. I mean, those are the antidotes I want to share with you. And also, this fellow had many daughters, so he used to always tell me, he said, "Chichi Khan or Karun, many
Bookseller, yeah.
Yeah, bookseller. Yeah, he was trying to, so be on my good terms. But anyway, he never gave me a free book. Anyway,
Okay.
so I think that kind of covers you my Kashmir sojourn. I could go more, but
No, no,
let's
but
go and
just
talk
that
about
incident, I really, I will not let you go before you tell me that incident about you playing down at downtown, and that particular these people, this Bakra party. I mean, what is that? Molly Farouk's father and all these
Yeah, yeah.
people.
I
Like,
already covered that. I did cover it.
but it was in a very speedy way. I really want to kind of a anecdotal way to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I think we used to play cricket quite often particularly in the KL Chowdhury's yard. And I actually talked to Surinder Chowdhury, his brother, who lives in California, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm not imagining things. and he reminded me that yeah, that actually
Pure
happened,
research.
and they were neighbors. They were neighbors, and we didn't even know who was Hindu, who was Muslim. To be
It was
honest with
not a
you,
consideration in those days. Yeah.
I mean, I had no idea I was a Hindu or Kashmiri Pandits or somebody was something
All
else
were
because
Kashmiris. Yeah.
exactly that was how it was. But over time, we started drifting apart, obviously.
Changing and all things. For that, sir, anyway, now we'll just take part from your Kashmir, although it will come in between sometimes. But I would like to say, first of all, for our public sake, I want to tell that for Dr. Fotedar has married to a wonderful woman from United States of America, and I think in nowadays, in my time and my next generation's time, even if somebody marries to a Keralite, Punjabi, doesn't matter. But even if even today, if somebody marries to an American, to European, it must have been a kind of hurricane exercise for you. Tell us something about your how did you meet, and how was the relationship, and what were the resistances in your family, traditional way, traditional things you really want to share.
Yeah, yeah. I want to share a couple of other incidents just for the
Yes.
sake of what was happening before I get to that. Uh, so after I finished my degree from IIT BHU, obviously, and I was accepted at the University of Washington, and then I'll come to my my marriage because that follows through. And so I had to get a passport, and turns out I had to get a passport in Srinagar. So I applied for passport in Srinagar, and guess what? The application disappeared.
My goodness, what? Why?
Application disappeared. So I went to repeatedly saying, where is my passport? Pata nahi hai, kuch nahi, kuch nahi. So in desperation, I come back to my sister's house in Saharanpur, and I talked to my brother-in-law, and he went to the district magistrate, and district magistrate said, that's his, write an affidavit they were born in Saharanpur, and I'll sign it. So my passport says that I'm born in Saharanpur, my Indian
Oh my
passport.
goodness! But why should have it
Oh,
happened? Yeah.
and it used to happen quite often because, just delay. And again, there was a communal aspect of it or whatever it is. I don't know what it
I
was.
I'm really amazed to know about these things because I never knew. We are so innocent to understand all these things.
Oh, yeah. And then another thing is that, as you and I talked about this thing that, you go to Reserve Bank of India, they give you $8 to travel to the United States.
Yes. What is that $8 story? Tell me about this
Yeah.
$8 story.
Well, at that time, the foreign exchange allowed for only $8 because India didn't have a lot of dollars. Kashinaji said that he got $1, right?
$1.
Well, in
Yeah,
that,
yeah. Kashinath
in
Pantaji.
58,
Before that, I would like to say what Kashinath Pantaji has told. First of all, he has appreciated this program of Shital of Conversation. He said that this is the only program which takes us through the layers of the history. And then he has appreciated you very much. He says that I know Hira Fotedar Saab right from the days, in 1990s, and he's a wonderful man. He has brilliantly helped people, and he is an intellectual par excellence. So I wanted to communicate to you that Dr. Panta has.
Thank you. And equally, Dr. Padita ji is a icon in himself, a great mentor and a teacher, and I thank him. And we worked together many times in the past. So thank you for that. So I wanted to just shout out to somebody here. So I had only $8 because at that time, in 8 years, the government of India increased your foreign exchange allowance to $8 from $1, right? And the exchange rate was 6 to 7
This is
rupees
not
to a
this was
dollar.
not your story. This was story of many MDU.
Everybody. Oh yeah, everybody. So what happened is I
Foreign
had to
exchange.
travel to the US, and my brother came to see me in Calcutta, and he said, "कितने पैसे तेरे पास?" मैंने कहा, "यार $8 है यार." कहता है, "Oh, $8? You're going to Seattle? Well, how are you going to survive?" So he went to the bank and he emptied his provident fund, and he gave me another $100. He bought in the black market and gave me another
Right.
$100.
Calcutta
So
had black market in those
you
days.
just see the love of a brother to another brother. So whole
That's so.
night he
That's so.
was sewing dollars here, there in this pocket, that pocket, and he gave me a list. "Kahan kahan ka rakha hai?" So that the government, we won't get caught at the airport for violating foreign exchange.
But how silly it
So I
was
think
that a student going to United States, place like Washington University, and he is just eight is given just $8. How else was he supposed to survive? Didn't the
yeah, well,
policymakers think that in
that's
those times?
that is, who knows. So when I got to the university, things really started happening beautifully because I was met at the airport by my host family, because University of Washington had a system. They would assign you a host family through Foundation of International Understanding. And so those name of the lady was Michael Goff and Margaret Goff, and they came to the airport to meet me, and I stayed with them for 2 weeks, and they they showed me around and helped me to get assimilated in the system. And luckily for me, I had another cousin in Seattle. His name was Ratan Lal Dhar,
Okay.
from Bicharnag, who was already married to a Kashmir American lady. Her name was Brenda, and he was in Seattle, and he was very helpful for me to settle down. So and again, I met, to come back to your question that you asked me, is that I met my wife, Pat, at the University of Washington, and
Pat Fotedar,
she
Mrs. Pat Fotedar, Mrs.
Pat
Pat Fotedar.
Fotedar. Yes, yes. So she was a student at the university, but she also used to work part time in a restaurant as a waitress in a Chinese restaurant. Now I used to go to the Chinese restaurant for one reason, because they had ginger spicy chicken, and
Oh,
in those days to get any spicy thing in America it's just impossible. It was all
impossible.
bland. There were no Indian restaurants, there were no Indian temples, there was nothing. And so I used to go there just to order spicy ginger chicken. And being a Kashmiri Pandit, I like to eat it with dahi. Now, they did not serve any dahi. So I
Okay.
asked my Pat, I said, "Can I bring dahi into the restaurant, and you would allow me?" He says, "Well, you're not allowed, but I'll find a place for you away from everybody. You can bring dahi and eat dahi with your with the dish." So our love story started from there, and
So it was a love story, or it was a story of necessity and need for each other.
no, it was a love story. It was a
Oh, good.
love story. At the first you see somebody, and you fall in
You start
love, and
liking, and then developing the
yeah,
affection.
yeah. But we dated for 3 years before. I met her in '68, and we got married in '71.
Oh,
And we all both agreed that we need to finish our education before we move forward. Now, one thing is there that she started studying Hindi and Urdu at the University of Washington, and then once she finished her degree, she got a scholarship from State Department at the University of Pennsylvania to study Hindi and Urdu at the University of Delhi.
Okay.
So once she finished her degree and I finished my PhD, we all both went to India, and she was continuing studying, and I was mooching off her. She was making all this money. I wasn't doing anything. But we had both agreed that we were going to go back and live in India. We had no desire to work in the US or Europe, anywhere. After PhD, I wanted to go back to India. I wanted to study. I wanted to teach. I wanted to start some business. And so she was able to speak Hindi in order, so there was not a problem. However, it's another story behind it, is that I applied for jobs in India, and I got accepted, different universities. So the one university that gave me the really good offer was University of Roorkee.
Okay.
And University of Roorkee gave me the job offer of a reader in material science and engineering. So they were shifting, the direction was shifting from metallurgic engineering to material science and engineering. And they were just getting started, and I was probably one of the innovators in that area in the material science and engineering from University of Washington, because we had a huge department there. So I went to University of Roorkee and say, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to join I'm ready to join the department. And so the head of the department was Dr. Saxena. He said, we're glad to have you here. Come on here. Sit down in my office. I have something to tell you. I said, okay. He says, I got good news and I got bad news for you.
Oh.
I said, well, give me the good news first. So he said, good news is that the salary that we had given to you, we're going to increase that by about 20%, 25%. So that's the good news. I said, oh, yeah, I'd like more money. Then he said to me, he says, the bad news is that you're only 29 years old, and we have given you the job of a reader, which is an associate professor. Most of our readers are in the 45 range or something like that. And we think, the university thinks that's going to create a problem. And so we're going to give you the title of senior lecturer, not reader.
Oh.
And I said to him, I said, Dr. Saxena, doesn't your word count for anything? I mean, here is a letter. This is what you told me. And that's what I want. He says, well, I'm sorry. Well, don't worry. In a couple of years, you will get there. We'll give you more money. No problem. And I was really disappointed. I mean, very disappointed. But good news was this, that I had an offer from Imperial College of Science and Technology before I applied for the position in Roorkee, because the professor, Peter Pratt, was an external examiner on my PhD dissertation committee. And we were very close working on research things. And he liked me, and he says, Hira, anytime you want to come to University of London, you call me up and you have a position there. So I was really, really down. I had no other job. What are we going to do? So I said, call him up, and he says, oh, come on in. Next day he sent me the letter, and we were on the plane to go to England. So, but we're married now 52 years. My wife and I have been married 52 years.
More than a
century.
We
have two sons. Krishan, Siddharth Krishan is my oldest son. He's married to Shivani Koul, and I have two grandkids, Maya and Ishan. And then I have another son. His name is Rajesh Vikram Fotedar. He's married to Minnie, and I have two grandkids from him, and their names Reeve and Sky. And so it has been a good ride, with my family, with Pat. So
I
I'm very happy.
I don't want to go back to retrospect. How, as I said, that marrying an American or European today, even today, our third generation, I mean, from you, our children, even if they say, it becomes slightly, you become spectacle. But when it was the times of 1960s and you got married to Pat, and how was the scenario at home? Please tell us some anecdotes about it.
Oh, it was terrible.
Relatives,
Oh yeah. Everybody was very unhappy. My sister was very unhappy, and everybody was unhappy. They did not like it.
relatives.
However, I have to give credit to my father. So I asked my father. I said, "Hey, this is what I want to do, and I need your permission." He said to me, he says, "बेटे, अगर इंदिरा गांधी का बेटा इटालियन से शादी कर सकता है, तू कर ले शादी."
Great, great. That was a, you must have been a visionary man in those days. Wonderful.
True story of my father saying, he
And
says,
we
"Go ahead, go do what you have to do, and
Kash-
don't worry about everybody else." And
Kashmiri have a
since
very
then,
typical sense as है never karun khandan me masa in ऐसा करूँ वैसा करूँ ये सब चीजें
yeah,
होती है
yeah.
ना कश्मीरी
Well, they obviously, it's a problem of assimilation. But I tell you, my wife, my Pat, is loved by everybody in my family,
yes yes I can see
and
the
and
report of that
and she returns the love to everybody as well.
children
So,
wonderful.
and Jugal ji, let me tell you, having been, there is really no difference between Americans and Kashmiris
There's
and
no people are
Indians.
the same. People are same. I know.
When
I
you're in
myself.
love, you're in love. प्यार का क्या करेंगे? प्यार हो गया तो हो गया.
प्यार हो गया तो हो गया प्यार का कुछ नहीं हो सकता और वो सच्चा प्यार था वो सच्चा प्यार था उसमें you know I would like to say one thing ladies in those times in your age group I think in those times ladies were more there was a femininity there was a motherhood and there was more sacrificing kind. I mean there was no concept of it was pure love and pure submission. They were very innocent that way that generation I mean that generation of everyone.
I won't say that it was submission. Submission is kind of derogatory term.
Submission to love surrender.
Yeah, there was a what there is, and even today there is this commitment to family, commitment to
Commitment.
relationship. Okay, and for that, whatever sacrifices you have to make, you make. And husbands make sacrifices, wives make sacrifices, because together you want to keep the engine going, keep the family going. That's what it is.
That's so wonderful.
So anyway, so
Let's
that's
let's
that story I wanted to tell you about that thing. So anything
so
else you
let's
want to know?
yeah. Actually, now we'll propel ahead. I was very much interested in this topic of people moving out, especially our natives moving out to 60s and 70s to United States of America.
Yeah.
I really want to know because we have a very romanticizing, distant idea of those days. Today we know our children are in US, everybody's children is in US. But in those days, moving into United States of America, integrating into another society, because you are dealing with Americans, you are dealing everywhere. You are dealing with different people who are settled over there. Besides that, you are working, your business environment, your social environment, your integration, your happiness aspirations. What was it totality? Tell us. Let's have a landscape of 60s and 70s America when from the point of view of a native, Kashmiri native,
Well, not only Kashmiri, then Indian native. I
Indian
mean,
native,
remember
Indian
in the
native.
60s, it was a very, very difficult environment in America.
Right.
Why was it? Because there was a Vietnam War going on. Okay.
Yes.
Vietnam War was going on, and people were very anxious. For example, when I uh, applied for immigration status, uh, I got immigration. I was immediately asked to register for army service, and that was a very common thing. You became immigrant, you had to register for join the army, and I still have my what is called SS social selective service card with
Okay.
me. And what happened is that the only thing that saved me is because I was working on a project for NASA to develop heat shields for the space shuttle returning. So my
Oh, that's so
university,
wonderful.
my boss
Wonderful.
wrote a letter to these guys. He says, "Hey, listen, he's a very critical guy. We cannot send him to Vietnam to die." So they gave me a 5A classification. So 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 I survived. But the situation was difficult. Uh, um, we used to hear these things, and when you say, "Kill a Kong for Christ."
Oh,
Kong is Viet Cong. So kill a Kong for Christ. So you have to watch yourself, what you say, what you didn't say, because America in 60s was still a very racist country. Okay. There were areas in America in the South that a colored man could not go after 6 o'clock. Okay. Uh, yeah, because you could get lynched, you could get beaten up. Okay. 60s
I agree.
was hard. And but as far as my concern is concerned, I faced no discrimination. I faced no problem at all. I had wonderful advisor in Tom Stove at the university, and very helpful in every way. And then when I joined business world of Eaton Corporation, believe me, I was the only non-white leader at every step of the way in Eaton Corporation as I moved up the rank and at the chairman's level, chairman,
Vice chairman.
worldwide business team. I was the only
Very top
non-white
position.
guy for a long time. And we used to tell anybody who came after us, we used to tell them that, listen, you need to focus on excellence. You need to focus on delivering results, because that will open the doors for other people, because they say, yeah, this guy can actually do it. These Indians can actually do stuff. And that's what we did. We used to mentor other kids, other people, younger people than us. And I can say that I helped a lot of people in my life to move ahead in different areas of their endeavor, And an anecdote for you. You want an anecdote? So at one time, because my older son was born in England, my younger son was born in Brazil, and so we used to travel with 4 passports. It was British passport, Brazilian passport, American passport, and Indian passport. And I was the last guy to, I said, I'm not going to change my Indian passport. I love my Indian passport. So I only changed Indian passport in mid 80s. And in mid 80s, the reason I did is because for business reasons, I had to go to Italy, I had to go to France. So I had to get visa to those places. So, but if you're an American citizen, you don't have to have a visa, right? So I had to go and get visa and all that thing. And at one time when I was in Heathrow Airport coming from Italy, there was a problem with a customer, Cummins engine company. And so I was stopped at the immigration, and I still had an Indian passport. So the guy says to me, he says, "Oh, you're from India. How long are you going to stay here?" I said, "No, I'm going to be here for 3-4 days. I am just for business." He says, "No, no, 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 no. We don't believe you. You have a ticket." And I couldn't find my return ticket, and he just started giving me a hard time. So I told him, I said, "Sir, do you really think I'm going to live in England? I have immigration to 3 countries. I have immigration to Brazil. I have immigration to Mexico. I have immigration to the United States." I showed him the 3 cards. He got so confused. He says, "Okay, for God's sake, go." It's a true story.
But yotsu gasan tatisu masartulan sarni.
Anyway, about Kashmiri Pandits, you talked about it.
Yeah, no. Before that, I would like to say one more thing. Which were the bands? Probably you were music lover as well, because you were in love. Certainly, love cannot be compatible without the music. What were the popular bands in those times in United States of America? Did you enjoy the American music or Western music, and as well as Indian music?
Well, I had to, because my wife is American, so so I had to accompany her with the bands.
Who are the best music bands you like?
The
best musicians or the singers?
Well, the Beatles were the big thing. The Doors, Beatles, the Doors,
ABBA.
Rolling. No, ABBA came much later. Rolling Stones.
70s.
Rolling Stones were there. There were quite a few bands, the American bands. Simon and Garfunkel were big, and I used to go to their concerts. And in those days for Indians, there was to reel tape. Those big ones were to carry. There were no tape recorders, so So I had these huge tape records I used to carry to listen to the Lata Mangeshkar and Mohammed Rafi and
And
all those
did
guys.
you did Pat also listen to Indian music? Lata
Yeah,
Mangeshkar, Mohammed Rafi?
yeah.
Are the movies?
We are aficionados of music. I have great collection from Brazil, Mexico, and
Oh,
from
Mexican music is
South America,
beautiful.
and of course Indian music. And I love classical, Western
Classical,
classical music. That's the
symphony.
one that I listen most. When I have to do deep thinking, I listen to the Western classical music because I cannot listen to the Indian music because उसके साथ में गाना शुरू करता हूँ. So so that
But you
distracts
can
me.
just try the Indian ragas. There's no need. Or you can even you go to listen to Shabd, Gurwani Shabd and the music there. That's a beautiful.
Yeah. Well, but
But you
I
saw the
like
movies as well. You liked the movies. Any popular movie you really loved in those times, Indian as well as
uh
Western.
you know, as far as the Indian movies are concerned, Jugal ji, you will laugh at it. When I was at Banaras University, the movies were so bad. We used to go to see Dara Singh movies,
No, C grade films.
C grade film. Yeah, because what is the difference? Going to A, B, ये शोर शराबा दमल ऐसा कर रहे हैं दमल down. So in protest, we would go to see Dara Singh movies, and of course we saw a lot of Western musics like
Yeah, but we had Gurudat, people like Gurudat and people like we had great filmmakers, Bimal Roy,
yeah,
Gurudat. I mean, great ones, great films, great
yeah.
films. In
So
Western,
I'm giving an anecdote. We used to go to see Dara Singh movies
because
just for
यूपी
the
में
hell
तो
of
वही
it.
चल रहा होगा ना, वहाँ सिनेमा हॉलों में वैसे ही चलता था, दारा सिंह बी ग्रेड सी ग्रेड फिरोज खान फिल्म्स. आपके
Yeah.
what American movies did you like and who was the actor?
Oh, I like lots of them. Wait, called that we like. What was? I can't remember all. But comes to my mind. Uh,
Your
there were
voice
a
is
lot of
echoing. Your voice is
war
echoing,
movies.
echoing. Your voice is echoing. Where the player is there a distance from your hand? Because there, your voice is echoing. Yeah, now it's okay. Yeah, you can speak now, please.
Oh, okay. So
So, Marlon Brando,
anyway,
Godfather, Marlon Brando, and all films in those times. No, Marlon Brando was much
Marlon
later.
Brando was not big deal at that time. Dustin Hoffman was big.
Dustin
Dustin,
Hoffman, my goodness, Papillon,
uh,
Papillon, and
yeah,
other.
Dustin,
Steve McQueen,
yeah, Dustin,
Steve McQueen.
yeah, he was big, um, uh, and you should have told me. I would have prepared it, but I can't
It doesn't
remember
matter.
now.
Doesn't matter. It was just for the sake of my audience because I want to keep all this conversation always in the lighter tone. I keep it in the lighter way. That's how
Yeah,
it is.
sure.
So let's now move over to the chapter of your philanthropy and your social service, because I know your industry role is very big. I mean, it will have a because
Yeah.
it may become they may become monotonous. People may not understand its nitty gritty. Only I want to know something about Sigma. You created some Sigma kind of. Please tell about that. Sigma
Well,
that I
say,
really, yeah.
what it is a Six Sigma is it's a statistical term. And what we do is it's a statistical process control we use to control manufacturing processes to reduce variability. Basically, what happens is that you have this pen and you have another pen. You want to make sure that they're exactly the same. There is no variability. Okay, so statistical
Okay,
process control is a methodology. There's a lot behind it
okay.
that helps you to reduce the variability from this to this, or even within this, from here to this to this. So everything is exact and true to what you have designed the product for. Okay,
So that was a
and
pioneering endeavor
pardon?
by you. Yeah, you are the
Well,
pioneer.
in the 60s, in 70s, Japanese were ahead of America in quality, and they were really beating us in quality. We had terrible quality in America, so we had to improve our manufacturing processes, the way we worked with each other, the way we behaved with each other, because there was a lot of labor unions. There was a tussle between the management and the workers. Management wanted this, the workers wanted that,
Oh,
and so there was just a lot of strife in America. So we had to deal with all that thing, and I was fortunate to get that opportunity to make some contribution, and I did, and I got well rewarded. So did the
no.
company.
And what about your company? It's doing a business. Your family, your children are also with you in that Fotedar
No,
and
no, no, no,
Associates.
no, 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 no,
Oh,
no, no. My son, my oldest son, he was with Honeywell Aerospace,
oh,
and so he has a degree in chemical engineering from University of Michigan. He has got a master's in computer science.
machine.
He's got an MBA, and his wife is a doctor. She's a physician, and he changed a couple of years ago. He went into program management, so that's what he does. And my younger son is an attorney. He's a patent attorney in software and electrical engineering, and he's a partner with a firm in San Francisco. So, no, I mean they are both in the engineering end of it, but different end,
Okay.
you know.
So let's come down to now your philanthropy part. First of all, let's begin with our own this community Kashmiris when they were migrating out. Exodus happened. That horrendous exodus happened, and they were literally on the roads, and nobody was listening to them. There were no direct directions. Apart from the political, because I don't discuss political politics, yes, but I really want to know. You became a great voice. People like you and many more with you, they became the great voice for Kashmiris. And you tell us something about this whole affair in those days, so that we revive that memory. And what was your role in creating everything around?
Yeah, small role, because a lot of people worked on this thing, and we worked with each other. So let me start out with telling you a true story that how I got involved in it is that I came to know on December 6 in 1989, the chief priest of Vicharnak temple. His name was Pandit Janakinath Bhatt. Uh, he was murdered by his Muslim guard who was supposed to protect that.
Oh,
Uh, and so he woke him up in the
very
middle of the
sad.
night, told him that you have to convert or I'll kill you. And he killed him. And
Oh,
that really, really impacted negatively to me. And I said, yes, something bad is happening in Kashmir. And obviously, in January 19, everybody had to leave in 1990. So I approached Jugal Koul, who was the president of KOA, and he said, really, we have to do something. What are we going to do? So, well, first of all, let's go to India, let's go to Jammu and find out what's going on. So in 1991, he and I went and we visited the refugee camps in Jammu, and we actually ate with them. And we were there for 3-4 days. We met with Panun Kashmir people, Dr. Agni Shekhar, Chungus, and others, and who were very helpful in giving us a totality of what has happened to Kashmiri Pandits. Because sitting here in America, you really couldn't even fathom what had happened to people, and you see people, very well off people just being destitute overnight. And here is an issue that really helped me to focus. I was visiting a makeshift school in Jammu. It was hot. It was really dirt floor. There was no coverage, and there were Kashmiri Pandit kids still studying. Education is very important to us.
they were living in
And
camps
there
with
is
the
this,
mosquitoes and breeding mosquitoes and
yeah. So
scorpios fighting.
there
Yeah.
was this there was this young girl about 12 or 13 years old, and
Hmm.
I still remember her. I'll never forget her face. And she said to me, she says, "Sir, why is nobody talking about us? Nobody cares about us. Nobody knows what has happened to Kashmiri Pandits. Why is that?" And I told her, I said, dear, I'll make it my mission to publicize and tell the world the story of what has happened to Kashmiri Pandits to the world. I will do my part. Okay.
That's so
And
great.
after I returned with Jugal Koul, he's Sorgia Jugal Koul, a great guy, fantastic leader, big mentor to me. He was much older than me, but he taught me many things. And when we returned, he appointed me as the director of media relations. for Kashmir Overseas Association. My job was to go to talk to the newspaper people, television people. And when I would call CNN and I would call ABC News, nobody would even take my phone call. They said, "What are you talking about? There is nothing happening to Kashmiri Pandits." I said, why are you saying that? He says, "Nobody in India is covering it. Where is it?"
Yeah,
Okay,
that was a logical point.
it is
इंडिया में
you
कोई
are
कवर नहीं
talking
कर रहा
about it.
था तो बाहर क्यों करते? हाँ,
Yeah,
yes.
we don't see anybody talking about it. Why? This is the figment of your imagination. So that is why we start. We arranged this debate with me with Ghulam Nabi Fai,
Ghulam Nabi
and
Fai, the anti-national
I,
guy.
yeah, he was the Kashmir American Council president, supported by ISR Pakistan. He was the face of the Hurriyat, and his message was, "Oh, Kashmiri Pandits, they left on their own. Jagmohan throw them
Played
out.
the trick.
We have nothing to do with it." So our word wasn't even being, you know, and I was really depressed. I had to go to see a doctor because he said, "I am not able to do anything. What do I do?" So my wife, thank God that I had this. She said to me one day, she says, "Tu kya kar rahe ho? You come home and you get a whiskey on, and then you're depressed. You lash out at everybody." And she says, "Why don't you do something?" I said, "In America, when something happens, you take the leadership and you do something, even it may be small thing." So I said, "What are you talking about? We Kashmiri Pandits don't do anything. We don't help each other. We're all for each other." She said, "That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard." It's a true story. So she said, "I'll show you how to do it."
Great
So
lady.
she took
Great
the
lady.
leading role in collecting 10 tons of clothes from all across the United States. And in that, she organized other Kashmiri ladies. And I want to share some names: Shana Muttu, Usha Nakasi, Neelam Wali, and many others. I don't have everybody's name, but there were about 20 Kashmiri ladies from all across the United States. They collected clothes, shipped to the Washington, D.C., and in Washington, D.C., the embassy helped us to connect with the Minister of Civil Aviation, and his name was Dr. Arif Mohammed Khan, who is now the governor of Kerala. And he gave us
Yeah.
two airplanes to take all those clothes to Delhi, and from Delhi they were shipped to Jammu. And because it was cold, people didn't have any warm clothes. So she did that, and that really, I said, "Wow, oh my God, if she can do that, I should be able to do something." So that's why we formed this Indo-America Kashmir Forum in
Into
Washington,
American
D.C.
Kashmiri form.
Yeah, because we needed an organization so that we would get invited. That okay, we could issue press reports and stuff like. But you say, look, here we didn't know anything. We're all engineers and scientists. We know anything about public relations. We have no idea. So anyway, we formed this Indo-American Kashmir Forum, and I was the first president of it from 91 to 94. And we did our first symposium in Maryland. Dr. Ashok Rana, who is a big leader in Washington, D.C., he was the convener. And he was in contact with the embassy and Overseas Association of BJP and other people. So we had about 500 people attend that symposium. And you know what? The Abid Hussain, who was the ambassador of
Abid Hussain.
India, he was a big supporter. He was our keynote speaker. And we invited Dr. Jagmohan, Governor Jagmohan, came from India. And unfortunately, it was a problem because we had to provide security for him. So FBI got involved and provided him security. And we also, I believe, Agni Shekhar was also part of that symposium. He came from India, and so it was a big success. It gave us confidence because we were presenting papers. It allowed us to think clearly of what we're talking about. Because previous to that, we were kuch bolta tha, kuch bolta tha, kuch bolta tha. We were
Well, there was
not on
not
the
a
same page.
unified, stand
We
and
didn't
unified
know.
communication. Yeah.
We did not know. Anyway, so I accompanied Governor Jagmohan, when he came here to visit the senators and congressmen to apprise them of because he was a lieutenant governor of Delhi and he was a governor of Kashmir, so he had some weight behind him, and I have a story to tell you. And so we went to see Peter Galbraith. Peter Galbraith was the son of John Kellett Galbraith, who was the ambassador of US to India. So Peter was in India with his father, and so he knew Governor Jagmohan, and he would address him as uncle. So when we went to his office, so he says, "Hi, uncle, how are you?" And we started talking. He says, "Well, we want to talk about Kashmir." He says, "Yeah, I want to talk to you about Kashmir also." He said, "Why is Indian government killing all those Muslims in Kashmir? Why are you raping and pillaging, doing all these things?" So he says, no. He started defending India. And it turns out that Benazir Bhutto was a classmate of Peter Galbraith at Harvard.
Oh, I see.
So he got all that information from Pakistani, ISI, whatever it is. So
They all got involved.
And I am sitting there and I'm saying, holy cow. And Jagmohan is now defending India. So we didn't get anywhere. It was a disaster. So I took Jagmohan aside. I said, "Governor Saab, from now on, we're not going to defend India. We're not here to defend India. We didn't spend money to bring you here to talk about India. We want you to talk about Kashmiri Pandits."
India is a great country. It can defend itself. There's nothing.
Our human resource violation.
We are a huge country.
How are we going to get back to our homes and hearts? That's the issue we're going to talk about. And so I think that afterwards, we even ourselves got clear that if they say that, so we'll say, yeah, there is some abuses taking place by Kashmiri troops, Indian troops, but that's not, we're not their lobbyists. And so that was our main issue, was how to counter the narrative of Kashmiri American Council, okay, who, by the way, were funded by Pakistan, and they had a lobbyist. The company was called Black, Manafort and Stone. They were paid $1 million by Pakistan to go to the congressmen and senators and others, pass resolution against India, do this, do that. So that's what we were faced against. So I told my folks, I said, you know what? Let's do what KAC is doing. Okay? Let's watch them, whom they are contacting, what letters they're writing, and we do the same thing. Okay? Just benchmark. And then tell our story. So in that, I will tell you that we started interacting with the senators and congressmen. Jivan Jitchi, as you know him very well. He played very key role in West Coast. Ashok Rana, Vijay Sazawal, Ashok Moza. Some of the people who were involved in there are no longer with us. They're passed away.
Panta was also there. Kashinath Panta also played a big role.
Big role. Kashinath Pandita used to come be a speaker in the symposium.
Because he's the best speaker. Best speaker.
Yeah. Then he was also in Geneva, as you know, he represented Panun Kashmir, and Vijay Sazawal would go from IAKF to Geneva. So they both worked together in presenting things to the United Nations Human Rights Commission. But what I did was, my contribution, Jugal, was that I was a neighbor of one person. His name is Sherrod Brown. He lived only a couple of miles from my house. And he was at that time a congressman. So I would talk to him about Kashmiri Pandits, and he needed money for re-election. So we raised a lot of money for him, Kashmiri Pandits did, in all over the United States. And then he would make statements on the Congress, floor of the Congress, and I have copies of all those things. Okay, what has happened to Kashmiri Pandits, that we need to protect their human rights, they need to go back. And so we started getting some coverage. So we could tell, see what Sherrod Brown has said. So other people did the same thing, and then Brown wrote letters to Indian Prime Minister Gujral and to Albright and other people. And so we started getting some coverage. And KPs in Maryland, in New Jersey, New York started contacting their congressmen and senators and doing the same thing. So because of that, whenever there were hearings that were organized by this lobbyist on behalf of the Pakistan in Congress, U.S. Congress, at first we were not even being invited. But once we started getting organized, then they would get us invited, and so we could start blunting their narrative and focus on the Kashmiri Pandits issue. And when you start focusing on Kashmiri Pandit issue, immediately you say that, hey, there is a religious angle to what these guys are talking about. Okay, why would they throw out 400,000 Kashmiri Pandits from
They
Kashmir?
would understand that it is a religious or ethnic cleansing kind of a thing that is
Ethnic
happening.
cleansing. And then another thing we did as a group, I want to emphasize as a group, is that we were making presentations at think tanks, at the universities, and Kashinath Pandita was very important part of that because he helped us to rationalize and focus what our thinking was. Because again, we were novices in this
Brilliant,
area.
brilliant,
Yeah,
man.
yeah. And then what we did, Jugalji, IAKF leadership also formed Indo-Canadian Kashmir Forum, which is headed by Ashok Koul, and Indo-European Kashmir Forum, which is headed by Dr. Krishnaban. They still are very active. And I gave talks at the University of Michigan, Michigan State University, and other places. We even sponsored Rahul Pandita and his book, Our Moon Has Blood Clots, and had him go to various think tanks, Stanford University, Berkeley, other places to give talks on behalf of Kashmiri Pandits. And so, in short, let me tell you one thing is that in America, Indians never had any issue to talk about. They never did. Indians in general. So they would raise funds for a congressman or senators and take pictures, nothing else.
That's all.
So we were the Kashmiri Pandits were the first who had an issue to deal with, which was what is happening in Kashmir, how Kashmiri Hindus have been murdered, killed, and thrown out, and asking the world to take them back and take care of them. So we had an issue. We had issue to talk about, and since then, the Indians have become organized, and we have now Hindu American Foundation.
Yeah,
Many
there are
of the young people, they're in their 40s. They started with IAKF. They learned how to organize. They've now formed the American, and then Kashmiri Pandit diaspora. You've heard Dr. Surinder Koul and Rakesh Koul, Utpal Koul
that's
are
a
very much involved.
political outfit, political wing of Kashmiri Pandits in a way.
I don't think it's a political wing at all. It's a humanitarian thing.
Humanitarian.
They're not part of anything. They're the humanitarian thing. Yeah, that's just like IAKF was, humanitarian thing. But they have taken over, and they're doing a good job on that thing. So, on the whole, we got organized. I think we were successful in getting the word of Kashmiri Pandit ethnic cleansing out. Unfortunately, we have not been successful in getting our Kashmiri Pandit Biradari back to their homes in Srinagar, in Kupwara, in Pulwama, and other places. Hopefully, over time, that will happen.
But there is a lot of confusion as far as the ranks of Anand Kashmir and the diaspora. I don't, although this is not a preview of our discussion, and they say that we want to separate homeland, and then the diaspora says that let us go and settle into the places in different districts. There is lot much dichotomy in between these organizations and their think tanks and the plans.
Well, my answer to all that thing is when you're dealing with this kind of issue, different people have a different approaches. But we are all focused on one thing: getting back to Kashmir. How you get it? Agar Razer Kadal Kashmir Gasui or Ali Kadal. We are all wanting to go to the same place. If you're going to Reshipir, there are different places of getting there. We all want to get Kashmiri Pandits back to Kashmir. People have different opinions, but in that we're all united.
That even
Okay,
Kashmiri
and
Muslims say that we want you back. Kashmiri Muslims
well,
also say that
again,
they
it
want. They said
depends
that
of
we
whom
want
you're
you back.
talking about. You see, Jugalji in Kashmir, uh, not all Kashmiri Muslims are bad, and the
They are good
majority
people.
is good. Majority of Kashmiri Muslims are Sufi Muslims. They are
Majority is
good,
good everywhere. Yeah.
okay, and they do want us. Yeah, I don't know what is in their heart, but at least they are after Article 370, things have changed a little bit, and over time it's going to change again. And I hope uh, my advice to Kashmiri Pandits is go buy land, buy property.
Yeah,
Okay,
we have a larger Kashmiri identity. I just want to ask one question in correlation with this. Uh, I was talking about 60s and 70s and 80s, and this thing happened. This great this one this danger, what do you call it? Horrendous thing happened in 1990s, and all the Kashmiris, because we originate from the same source, our history is the same, everything is the same, genetic is the same. Although few of Sayyids came from here and there, and few of Iranians came from here and there, but all Kashmiris have the same blood. Same. What were the other Kashmiri Muslim organizations, Kashmiri Muslim diaspora, who are also Kashmiri like you? Where you work together? Did you work together for a for a period of time? And what was the reaction to this?
that's a very good question, Jugal. I'm so glad that you asked. Prior to 1990, we had excellent relationship with the Muslim Kashmiri Muslim
Brothers from Kashmir.
diaspora in this country. So in Chicago, I remember we used to get together. They would come to our Shivratri functions. We would go to their Eid functions.
Shivratri and Eid,
Uh,
yeah, share together.
yeah. Just like Kashmir. I mean, our neighbors, we used to, do all that thing with COSAs, as I mentioned earlier. And same thing in Washington, D.C. and Maryland. Very good relations. But after 1990, we were approached by them and they wanted us to take a stand against the government of India.
Oh my
Okay.
God.
Yeah, I mean, Mr.
That,
Katwari approached us. I talked to him and other people talked to him, and he was taking a advertisement in New York Times, and bashing India, bashing Indian troops, and really, putting forward the point of view of Pakistan and Hurriyat and Hizbul Mujahideen, and he wanted us to contribute to that advertisement and sign off, and we said no, and so that's where the relationship started going south.
that
And
was
I don't
evident
think
that certainly
there is a
nobody
very
would.
good relationship.
Kashmiri Pandits, for that matter, all Kashmiris, many of the Kashmiris I know, they are all pro. They will not like to, say anything against our country first, India first. So if
Yeah. So
somebody wants us to speak something against the country, that will not be there. Kashmiris are our brothers. We are all brothers together. And but certainly, if this attitude was there, do you see any hope in the future that at least we have our genetic is same, our forefathers were the same? Do you see it was not much far when they took to another culture, but basically we are the same. So do you think in near future something will happen? At least
well,
will be.
the
Yeah,
genetics and forefathers don't matter
doesn't
anymore.
matter.
What matters is the education. Okay, as you are going into madrasas and you're being taught to hate each other, uh, that generation going forward is not going to be worried about whether our genetics. They're going to say Nizam and Mustafa. They're going to say you're a kafir. Give you a good example. This is a true example. So we have friends in East Lansing. They're um, they're Kashmiri Muslims, and the doctor came. His name is Dr. Hussein Mir. He
Okay.
also came in very early 60s to this country. So we
Okay.
were very good friends, get together for Damalu, Malu, Goshtaba, Washtaba, Khate Te, Kate. And so his kids are born here and they're educated here. And so they're pro India, they're pro everything. So recently, his son's name is Anwar Mir. So Anwar Mir's son goes to madrasa. And so
Okay.
Anwar says to us, he says, Hiraji, my son the other day came and says, why are you interacting with these kafirs?
Oh God.
Because
Such
that's what they're
educated
taught in,
class. So what has
that's what they're
education
being
to do
taught.
with it?
Yeah, because that's what they're being taught in madrasas, is that you're a Muslim, you should not be respecting or interacting with a kafir, a non-Muslim. That's what they're being taught. Okay.
And his father was quite educated guy. Environment at home was so modern. Everything changed all of a sudden
No,
because
no,
he
but
was taught.
what he's saying is that, that's if you're going to send them to education is the what prepares you from one generation to another generation. So
Yes, that's
what
true.
I'm answering to your question is that it doesn't matter who your father is, great grandfather is, and what your genetics is. What are you taught and how you behave, how you do stuff is what basically carries the day, essentially.
That's true. That's
So
true.
if in Kashmir, the Kashmiri Muslim kids are being taught to hate Kashmiri Hindus and hate India, they will do that. Okay, unless and until the system is changed, there is not going to happen anything.
Now more and more people are understanding it, and there are a lot many Kashmiri Muslims. I know a friend. They always love India. They said that we are very safe India, and they hate Pakistan. But then again, these till the time these madrasas and these things are there, definitely, unless or until they are rationalized, they are nationalized, they are made to understand that it is a place for education. Of course, religion is a good thing, but not to take something against the other communities. It is a relationship between man and the God. It has nothing to do with the other communities or the people. Things would change. Uh,
Because see, Jugal ji, our religion teaches Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve
Sarvanta
Santu
Bhavanu
Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pashantu,
Shantu.
Ma Kashuk Tuk Bhagave. Okay. And their religion says, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, in Kam Tasarvalidin Ameen, Ya Parvardigar Ameen. It's in Quran, right? I have studied Quran. So there says this Quran is the only book that you follow. All other is false. Okay. And whatever they teach, hate or whatever it is, if you're being educated with that thing, that's what you're going to be.
Anyway, let's not come to that discussion now. I don't want that kind of a I don't want
Sure.
to go to that way of religion, because this program we don't we don't I don't take to that religion. But one thing I would like to say, certainly we have a joint future. We have a same identity. Tamils have the same identity. Gujaratis have the same identity. UP walas have the same identity, despite of Kashmir Muslims and Hindus. Bengalis have the same identity. Punjabis have the same identity. Every community has an identity. So Kashmiris too have an identity. Anyway, everything will come at its own time. We cannot make people to change. That some great philosopher has said. So हर चीज का अपना एक वक्त होता है. तो वो आएगा एक दिन, शायद वैसा भी आएगा. But sir, before we go, I want to have a photo tour with you. So please explain something about these photos.
Oh, sure.
We'll add some romanticism.
Oh, this is
This
a
is
picture we took in 1978 when I visited Kashmir. We were
okay.
living in Brazil at that time, so we took a trip. So in the picture is my Krishan and Rajesh, and also my nephews, my brother's son Shivi,
Oh,
and his sister Shikha.
oh, that's great. It's at Boulevard.
And
And now
and
this.
this is a picture from my IIT BHU days. We were on a trip to Raj Mahal, and these are my very close friends. I can recognize this. Ram Janu Singh, he was my roommate. Vijay Kacharu was another Kashmiri Pandit. He's the next sitting. Then on the extreme right is Santaraj Singh, a friend of mine, and then others. Don't want to take too much time.
And this
This
is
is a picture of
Calcutta.
me and my wife. Yeah, I think we were on a cruise or something like that. Somebody took it. It's a nice picture, isn't it?
It's a nice, decent one. Decent one. It tells a story about the journey held together with love.
Yeah, yeah. This is a nice picture. I used to be the president of Cosmopolitan Club in University of Washington. It was a international students
Okay.
organization. I was president for almost 2-3 years, and we used to organize dances and songs and things like that. And this girl is from Finland that I was introducing, and she was performing. I was the MC of that event.
Very nice attire you are, and the girl is very pretty.
So this is a picture of I was in NCC, National Cadet Corps, and we were on a firing range near Badami Bagh. And on my left is Ratan Bamzai, by the way. He became Air Vice Marshal of Air Force.
That's so
But
wonderful.
we were both students at Amar Singh College. And then Mr. Sharma, Major Sharma was in the middle. And then I can't remember the name of the other two guys. So this is from NCC. This is a picture from at University of Washington as a student.
Seater.
So yeah, in the bag you can just see badam were in the bag.
Badam,
It's
badam
beautiful.
fly.
Yeah, badam fly. Yeah. Very good picture. This is a picture from
Historic one.
Vezarnag. Yeah, again it's from 1978, and we were visiting Vezarnag. And in this picture, the kid who's standing on the far right is Hira Fotedar, my nephew. And then next to him is Rajesh, my youngest son. And sitting next to him is Shikha. They're all in 50s now. And then on the other side is the lady. Her name was Indravati. They were still living there, by the way, Indravati
Indravati.
Dhar. And next to her is my Mami ji, and we used to call her Rani Babi. And
Rani
then
Babi.
next to her is the daughter-in-law of Indravati and the wife of a very good friend of mine, Daya Krishan Dhar, who was still living in 1978 in that house. It's an ancestral house of Dhar clan.
You are Nanihal.
On the left side of the house is the house that were owned by Pandit Raghunath Dhar, my grandfather, and on the right was the house owned by Kishkak Dhar, his first cousin.
Oh.
This is a picture of I was
Sadr
representing
Riyasat.
Amar Singh College in inter-collegiate debating contest, which by the way we won. And sitting next to him is Dr. Karan Singh,
Dr.
who was the
Karan Singh.
Sadr Riyasat. He was our chief guest. I covered that. Oh, this is a beautiful picture. This is a picture of there was a international day in São José dos Campos in Brazil, and me and my wife are representing India. So I made my kids to wear kurta pajama. My wife wore sari,
And your sons have the same tops and the bottoms. Yeah, same color.
Yeah.
That's so wonderful. Your wife is very comfortable with the sari, no?
Of course. This is a picture. I was giving an award of Eaton Quality Award to one of our operations in Eaton Corporation. It's something that people have to win after a rigorous examination process, and so I used to lead all that thing in Eaton, and then when they won it, then I would go along with the chairman to give them the award.
That's so fun. Wonderful.
This is I was a keynote speaker at an international automotive congress, and so they gave me 10-15 minutes to talk about. I don't even remember what I talked about, but that is what it is. Archana Kakuruji, yeah,
Archana
I think last year, yeah, she gave me an award. I was surprised that I can get any award from Kashmiri Pandits. This is the first one I ever got. So she was kind enough to actually, she came all the way to the function of my grandson, Yagnopavit, I had last July.
Yagnapur.
And she came especially to attend that. and then gave me this award. I really appreciated that. So it was very nice.
She's a very generous lady. Yeah, very nice, very wonderful, good activist.
Yes, very, very nice. So this is a picture. I used to be a examiner of Malcolm Baldrige National Quality Award, and this is a program that is done by the President of the United States, and it's actually the Department of Commerce arranges all that thing. So I was very lucky to be an examiner for a long time. I became a senior examiner. And so every year after the meeting, we would get photograph taken. And in the initial stages, we used to do it at the White House with the president.
Okay.
But I don't know which year is this. So I'm right on the right side. You can see me there as an examiner.
Yeah, that's so wonderful photograph.
You know,
These are
I
Burmese.
mentioned that
Burmese
we do a lot of work with the Seva International.
Seva
And the
International.
Seva International has many programs. We do disaster relief, we do family services, and we also do tutoring and mentoring of poor kids in poor areas of Cleveland and around the country. So this is a list, this is a photograph of the African American kids that we mentored and tutored by the Seva International. I mean, I don't do the tutoring myself, but we have people who do it, and they all graduated from that program, got full scholarships to go and study in the universities. So that's one of the things we are doing. We're helping people who need the help the most. Many of these kids have no father and mother. Her father is in the
That's
prison.
a great one.
They're
That's a
alcoholics.
humanitarian role.
Yeah, yeah. So, and you know, we don't discriminate against on the basis of religion or
It should
race or
not be.
anything like that.
Human are the same. We are the same. We have
We
same
serve the humanity. We serve the
humanity.
humanity.
You must serve the humanity. That is the ultimate thing. Unless and until we become human, we cannot think that we are civilized. And
Exactly.
yes, this is sorry. I went up, and this is your photograph in your
This is
father.
my father. Yeah. So he came to Brazil. He stayed with me for about a year or so, and I was able to take care of him. I asked him to stay with me. Don't go back to India. He says, "What do you mean? You are the only son I have. I'm going back." So I said, "All right."
Of that generation. That's so wonderful.
Yeah. This is I threw in this picture. This is a picture was taken in a operating review that we was to conduct, and this I think this was in Italy that we were having that. Oh, this is
This is
a
your
very
pursuit.
good thing.
Yes.
So Indo-American Kashmir Forum, because we wanted to educate people about what's happening in Kashmir, right? And so we started publishing this thing. It's called Focus on Kashmir, and it was edited by Pandit Jankinath Gunju. Unfortunately, he's no more. He was a press liaison of Indian Embassy for a long time in Washington, D.C. So he was able to help us in publishing this thing, and he would collect all the information, and we would send this thing to the congressmen, senators, the State Department, and to CNN, ABC News, or everybody else to educate them what's happening and give our point of view of what's happening in Kashmir. Again, we are
Again, the
also
same. Milzar.
yeah, same thing. And this is a very good picture. This is my uncle, Pandit Professor Trilokinath Dhar. He is a very famous botany professor in Kashmir. As I said very early on, he's 102 years old, and he's been a great mentor and a teacher and a mamaji to me. And my two grandkids, Ishan and Maya, are behind him, and next to him is my brother-in-law, my master Binu's husband, Mr. Rana.
Oh, I see. I see. And he's still in. I mean, he's
He's in
hundred and two.
he lives in California with his son, and very active, very bright. The last time I met him, he asked me, to write Schrodinger's equation and asked me questions about quantum mechanics. And I said,
Okay.
Mama ji, please take it easy. I don't remember all that anymore. We talked about that we organized a
Indo-American Kashmiri
symposium,
Forum. Yeah.
Indo-American Kashmir Forum. This was the symposium we did in California, and you can see Jivan Zitshi is right there on the other side,
Yes,
and
yes.
I'm
You can see
on the other
given by.
side, and yeah. This is me and my sister.
Okay.
This is a
Yagnopavit.
picture of, last year we celebrated the Yagnopavit at my grandson, Ishan, in Rochester Hills. So this is a picture, one of the pictures of, I really believe Kashmiri Pandits really need to start following their traditions. And,
Yes, that's
typically
very
what they do
important.
is a day before marriage, they do the Yagnopavit, which is wrong. We should be doing it when they're 10, 11, 12 years old. जैसे हमारी रीति रिवाज है, and we don't do
Traditions.
that. But anyway, I followed that. I did the same thing with my kids in Battle Creek, Michigan, when they were about 12, 13 years old. I did the Yagnopavit, and my son and my daughter-in-law, Shivani, agreed that we wanted to do, so we did it last year. I'm glad they listened to me. आजकल तो सुनते नहीं ना ज़्यादा, so they listened to me. Thank God.
Pat is also practicing Christianity, or she is just, I mean, in post.
She practices yoga.
Okay.
For the last 30 years, she's been doing yoga, meditation, and spirituality. This
Oh,
is a
that's
good
so wonderful.
picture. We were part of a delegation in Japan celebrating the agreement to open a manufacturing plant in the United States. So these are all my colleagues from the automotive group
That's so
with
wonderful.
the Japanese people.
This is your
This
house.
is a house. This is the picture of our Fotedar house in Bodhgaya. It's a lane that leads to our house, and it connects the road that connects the Ali Kadal to Nala Mur. Okay,
Nalamor.
so you start from Ali Kadal, you go to Nala Mur. The house will be on our right side, but you
This
have to
this
go
white
through this.
this white building is your house. White building.
Yeah, that. And then in the front, we used to have a big garden. It was a big
Okay.
orchard. Of course, somebody has built a house on that thing. So this
That's
house
so
we
wonderful.
sold, the family sold in 1970s or something like that, late 60s. So we don't own it, but memories are still there.
Okay. That's so wonderful.
This is another picture of our
Elevation of
house.
your beautiful house. It's a beautiful house,
Yeah,
well made
yeah,
and well structured in those times. And here you are with the
yeah.
family.
Yep, it was taken last year. Yeah, thank you.
So that was so great, sir. It was wonderful. I mean, crisscrossing through the lanes which you have rambled all your life. And since we have the scope of the program, we cannot. We wanted to go on and on. There are many areas, many bays where there is a lot of knowledge stored, but we cannot do it in a one day. And you are a man with so much wisdom, so many facets. Maybe in near future we'll have another occasion and another opportunity to have an audience with you. It was so wonderful. Before you go, I would like to say two things you like the most. Rapid session.
Two things I
You
like
like
the
the
most:
most. Yeah.
my family and my wife.
Oh my God. And the third?
Third, try to keep good health.
Very straight. Very good. And two things you dislike the most.
I do not like disorganization, and
Okay.
I do not like people who don't keep their words.
Keep their
You
words.
say what you do, and you mean what you do. You say what you
Commitment.
do what you say. Yeah, yeah. I give
And
my
third,
word. I'll keep it, and I don't like other people who don't follow. That's why this is a learning I got from Dr. Saxena in University of Roorkee.
that still lurks after so many decades. And the third thing you dislike, number third.
The third thing I dislike is irritating people. if and I avoid people who irritate me totally.
Okay.
I won't deal with them.
Hope I am not. I don't fall in that category. I
No,
wish so.
you're doing a great service, Jugal. I really mean it. I mean, in the sense that where would you get an opportunity to share these tidbits? And when you put it all together, you get a
Yeah.
bigger picture of what the life was in Srinagar, in
Kashmir, exactly.
Kashmir, and how we interacted with each other. And we are Kashmiri Pandits. At least in my case, I'm a product of help that I got from my uncles, my aunts, and it, as they say, it's the family, total family that pushes you forward. Okay,
That's
and Kashmiri Pandits had to do it because they were very poor. They had to depend on each other, and I think we need to continue doing that thing. So as a community, we need to help those people who are in the refugee camps and who are not doing very well economically and uplift them. I think we can do that. We have done that for years and years.
that's true. That's true. And yes, certainly we are doing now. We are getting conscious about this particular cause, and kudos to people like you and others, lot many other people who are just doing this service one way or the other. We must look at the positive things. We should never look at the negative things because everybody has a positive and negative side. But I like what I like in Bengalis is that they never think about the negative thing of any personality. They talk about only the positive things, and that's how this integration happens. That's how the communities become great. And I'm really grateful, sir. We are very honored that you are with us. We had a wonderful chat, and this was a very heart to heart conversation. What they say in French, tete. I don't know. I'm not able to pronounce it exactly. So it is like that. Thank you very much. Good luck to you. Best wishes to Pat, your children, family, good health, long life. Long live India. Long live we all Kashmiris, all Indians. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All the best.
Thanks a lot. So that was Hira Fotedar. Uh, I think you like this discourse. Please let me know in my message boxes, and people who will watch it later after they are done with their day jobs, because this is being broadcasted across the globe on YouTube as well as on the Facebook. Uh, we didn't broadcast it deliberately on the Facebook page. We because to gather to just assimilate in a very to have the together this ethos together and galvanize the ethos in one particular place. So that's how it is. Thank you very much. You all came, and it was a wonderful time, wonderful Sunday. We'll be again with you with another great personality, with another stories, anecdotes about our culture, civilization, love, affection, bonhomie, and all those aspects we have been dealing with in Chitala's conversations right from the beginning. Before I leave, I would like to have a couplet. दूर तक छाए थे बादल और कहीं साया न था। दूर तक छाए थे बादल और कहीं साया न था। एक तरह बरसात का मौसम कभी आया न था। इस तरह बरसात का मौसम कभी आया न था। That was Katil Shafai. Thank you very much. Good night. Namaskar. God bless you all. Shabak hai.